Hello, everyone. Thank you again for joining me for a little rant, a little ramble in conjunction with this time lapse video. This time we're doing a little portrait of Bricky. Uh, there is another version of this with just music in the background if you prefer that in the background. So uh, let me know which one you prefer best with a like or a subscribe or a comment. You know what to do, but let's get into it. So, first thing I have to say is I wanted to start with this one just because I feel like in an interesting way at this point in time me making this, I was maybe relying a little too much on realism. And that's just to say maybe that's something I'm comfortable with. I'm like very inspired by like anime and stuff, so I think that my style reflects that, but it's also I've learned that it's kind of a crutch, especially with D&D and getting more into that. It's really more cartoonish, and I mean, we have a pretty good balance of like seriousness and slapstick in our campaign, but at the end of the day, like I still envision it as a cartoon in my head, and so sometimes getting that to match with my art style, it's been a journey. And I feel like this character Bricky is has been kind of pivotal in that, only because like I feel like in the beginning, not that this is a like super off the rails interpretation of him, but it is probably a little cleaner, a little less, a little more unassuming than the and like less grotesque than he probably started out as. Um, he should have had more like active decay on him and maybe more mismatched parts, and I could have played with the size and proportion a bit more. But I mean, again, it's not to like take away from the work that I've done. It's more just a learning curve. Like it's just an example of a goal that I've set for myself. So I have a new goal of um, it's kind of apparent in my sketches of Bogbean and how those have changed lately as well. Uh, my goal is to just kind of embrace like more stylization, push and pull the shapes and proportions. It I know the rules, so this is where I have to learn to break them in ways that make sense and portray style. So, uh, yeah, I think it'd be really fun, and I've talked about it with the player behind Bricky before, where uh, there will hopefully be art of like Bricky before he ever met the travelers and his new companions. But I think what I'm trying to say is that I am confident and I'm looking forward to the fact that after, consistent practice, at some point I'll be able to confidently go back and redraw some of these initial pieces and, really play with those proportions and, maybe not worry about the amount of detail in them. Uh, I remember seeing this video about character design, and they talked a lot about um, simplifying your designs, but I think I may have took that the wrong way at the time. Uh, just in the fact that, like, for example, there was a short while where I was drawing Bogbean without her gauges, without the stones in her ears, and while it did alleviate the problem I was having where in some angles like drawing the gauges was just weird, but it honestly presented more of a challenge drawing her ears without them, funnily enough. So I brought them back, and I could have gotten in my head, and I mean I was, but I overcame this feeling of being in my head about, oh, people are gonna be like, why the changes and why this and that. But I think that's something overall that I'm learning with D&D to just like not care so much. Like, I remember there was a joke at the table. I can't remember what brought it on, but I was worried about like consistency, and uh, Tobias's player was like, it literally doesn't matter as long as you're having fun. Like, Tobias could be white now, you know. Just retcon it. Who cares? And yeah. So I think that that's really been a freeing experience as well. But that being said, I do want to talk about the actual characters behind the art this time. Uh, in terms of relationships to my own character, I would say that Bricky is her first and best friend right now. Closely followed by Luna, who she ends up learning that she has kind of a distant familial relation in a sense. She does see her mentor Hebe as a mother figure, and Luna ends up having known her in a past life sort of way, so you'll have to listen to the podcast to check that out. Ricky was her first friend that she made outside of being drugged and kidnapped, essentially. They met in the cargo hull of a ship. He was in a bag, but he was actually a severed head apart from his body, so she had to stitch him back up. He smelled pretty bad. He was a rotting corpse, essentially. Probably why he wraps himself in his leather coat like he does. He he has it pretty buttoned up. Honestly, just to get by as a human as much as possible. But yeah, she really decided that they would be friends in the moment that they were on deck of the ship, immediately noticed by everyone. And when battle was about to commence, he kind of steps in front of her, so he gets in between her and, you know, whatever entity is coming at us. And that was all she kind of needed as a gesture of goodwill, to be like, oh, okay, this is a good one, you know. And in her naivety, like, that's all it took. And I think that after conversations with the player, I was able to garner that just radical acceptance of him is what in turn kind of got Bricky to form that bond with her, more than just, oh, I hate that I'm being made to do this to someone innocent, to have to, you know. That's what we learn later on is one of his protocols. That's why he's so friendly to her, is that he has other directives to keep her safe. But now it's kind of evolved into the fact that apart from the protocols, he does want to keep her safe because they're friends, and, you know, he wants to return the kindness that he perceives she is doing unto him. And I don't know, I eat that shit up. I just love the dynamics where not only big small, you know, big guy, small little creature, but also kind of the guy that's fragile, because at this point in the story we're not able to heal him. At best, I can stitch him up, like I can keep him intact, but when internal injuries, or when he loses some of that essence that is his life force, we have no way of replacing that. So I really like that kind of like relatively susceptible, like big tall guy, and then the tiny little goblin that is a powerhouse of a barbarian. So that's been really fun to play out. And yeah, I think it especially lent to the RP aspect that Bogbane got to start. I got to hit the ground running with a new best friend, and, you know, starting with those happy emotions, those are, I find them a lot easier to to fake, I guess, for lack of a better word. And but with these extra layers of plot, as we have more to worry about, and this friendship, now her best friend is associated with the one that did her wrong in the first place, and now there's complications to where, you know, she wants to trust her friend, but he could be the key to the big bad further doing wrong to her. So I had to prepare for some potentially difficult emotions going forward, but that's all the more fun. But we've reached that time again where I have to rush an outro and make sure I say everything. So, thank you again for watching and listening to my ramblings. If there's any subjects or topics that I kind of just didn't delve into as much, please feel free to request subjects. Yeah, catch me on Discord. I have a Linktree /end link where you can find everything, and I'll catch you next time.